Good morning. My name is James Spiro, and we're here at the Roadshow Plus event brought to you by Calcalist and PoalimTech. I'm joined now with Tal Slobodkin, managing partner at StageOne Ventures. Tal, hi.
Hi, good morning, James. Good to be here.
Good to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Sure.
I'd like to start off, please, by playing a fun game of predicting the future. So we are approaching the end of 2024. I'd like to get your insights, please, into what 2025 may bring for tech startups and investment and Israel and all the general things.
Sure. So good that I brought my crystal ball with me to give you the perfect prediction. But generally, as VCs, we have to be optimistic. So actually, I think 2025 is going to be better, and it's going to be part of the recovery we're having from the bust after the 21-22 period. So from a tech perspective and investment perspective, we already start to see more startups coming in, more companies being created, and some great names are being built up. And then we still see a little slower progress on the later stages, the A and the B rounds. And with respect to generally Israel, that's the question to be seen. Hopefully next year will bring us peace back, the hostages back, so hopefully things are going to get turned positive over there as well.
No, wonderful, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you, because I wanted to ask about some of the challenges that startups may face next year. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I think we're slowly seeing the ecosystem recovering. I think one of the biggest challenges we see is maybe the disappearing of some of the foreign capital we used to see heavily in, again, the boom of 2021, 22 really disappeared, and then we got this crushing blow when the war started and many of those multinationals left. And we get to see all the time when we speak to our peers how much of it is an issue for those foreigners to come into Israel and to be investing here. We do see on the flip side funds like Sequoia and others building their operation back in Israel. So this is the positive signs that we see for 2025. But still, the rate of foreign capital flowing into Israel has declined significantly. We're hoping to cover this with our local Israeli funding. We see other funds coming in as well, but not at the same rate as we used to see.
I heard somewhere that funds that had already invested in Israel are finding it easier to return to Israel, as opposed to ones that maybe had never invested and were thinking about it or a bit more apprehensive. What can you tell me a bit about that kind of makeup of the?
Yeah, it's a great point. I think you see the very well-established funds like the Bessemers and the Lightspeed, where they have local presence here in Israel and they operate well. And we at StageOne have many times collaborated with them almost as a feeder fund, where we will find those interesting companies and then bring them to the foreign funds, like the names I've mentioned. We don't see the very big names in the US that went away coming back that quickly. And I think that's a challenge that we are still yet to be seen. I think a piece of it is also personal leadership. In funds where you had people that are very connected to Israel, that want to double down on Israel, you would see them coming back and increasing their presence. Other funds that are less connected to Israel take a little more time to do so.
Okay, thank you. We're currently in a transitional period right now in American leadership. We're in between the election and inauguration. America's about to have a leadership change. What can you tell me about how that may affect Israel and the Israeli tech scene?
Yeah.
And so let's try and be as apolitical as possible.
Of course.
Strictly Israeli tech.
I will. So I mean, when you think about this transition, and there are many people in the tech industry spending a lot of cycles on trying to figure out what's going to happen. I think one of the signs we've seen in the speeches before is that the new administration is planning to be a little more easy in terms of FTC, in terms of non-compete, and we can see a situation where some of the multinationals are getting a little almost like a free card to go and buy companies or invest more in companies. People talk about the breakup of Google that could be delayed because of that. People talk about a few of the large transactions of the last few years that were canceled by the FTC, maybe coming back to life. So we think from an M&A perspective, there's going to be a surge of activity, and that's usually very good for the Israeli companies because unfortunately, not all Israeli companies are going to be huge public companies. They always look for the foreign acquirers. And these are those large multinational companies, the Fortune 10, the Fortune 15, the big tech. And we'd like to see them coming back and spending more money here, both as investment, but also as acquisitions. And I think generally, the new administration is very positive about this.
Okay, wonderful. We could talk all day about Israel needing to build its own multinationals instead of being bought by international ones, but we are running out of time unless you want to have a final...
Yeah, I would just say as a final note, we already see this class of companies being built in Israel and starting to acquire companies. And this is not necessarily just on the large public company scale, but also on the small scale. We have a few companies on the sub-billion dollar in market cap, but in valuation, but still those companies are already buying smaller companies. Yeah. So this muscle of buying Israeli companies is slowly flexing, and that's great for us.
That's amazing. And let's keep it blue and white. All right, Tal, thank you so much for your insights.
Thanks for hosting me, James.
Of
great
course,
to be here.
Here's a great time, and here's a great year ahead. And let's see you next year at 2025 and see if any of those predictions came true.
Absolutely. Great being here. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.